I'm Jane. I've never told this story publicly before, because every time I tried, people either laughed or told me I was stressed, tired, or imagining things. Some said I needed prayer, others said I needed sleep. None of them were there. This happened inside my own house. I moved into the place 3 years ago. It wasn't old, not really, just a small concrete house in a quiet neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a narrow kitchen, and a living room that felt slightly darker than it should have, even during the day. At the time, I was grateful. I had just gotten out of a bad relationship and needed somewhere cheap, somewhere quiet, somewhere I could finally feel alone. That was the problem. I was alone. The first few weeks were normal. I worked during the day and came home exhausted, ate dinner, watched random shows, and slept early. The house creaked sometimes, but I assumed it was just temperature changes or neighbors moving around. Then the whispers started. At first, they were so subtle that I convinced myself they weren't real. I'd be half asleep when I heard it soft, breathy, like someone speaking from another room but too quietly to understand. I'd open my eyes, heart already racing, and listen. Nothing. I told myself it was the TV from a neighbor's house, or maybe my phone playing a video in the background. But my phone was always face down, screen black, silent. It only happened at night, always after midnight. The first time I heard my name, I was standing in the kitchen. I remember this clearly because I dropped the glass I was holding. It was around 1:30 a.m. I couldn't sleep, so I went to get water. The house lights were off, except for the small bulb above the sink. The rest of the house behind me was dark. As I filled the glass, I heard it. Jane. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It sounded close. Close enough that I felt the air on my neck change, like someone had leaned in slightly. I froze. My first instinct was that someone had broken in. I grabbed the edge of the counter so hard my fingers hurt and slowly turned around. The living room was empty. No movement. No shadow. No sound. The front door was locked. The windows were closed. I checked every room, every corner, even under the bed like a scared child. Nothing. That night, I slept with all the lights on. After that, it didn't happen every night. Sometimes days would pass with nothing at all, and I'd start to feel stupid for being scared. I'd tell myself I imagined it. Then it would happen again. Always softly. Always when the house was quiet. Sometimes it sounded like it came from the hallway, sometimes from the living room. Once, I heard it from inside the bathroom while I was brushing my teeth. Never shouting, never demanding, just whispering. I tried to rationalize it. I checked the attic for animals. I asked neighbors if they heard voices through the walls. I even recorded audio on my phone while I slept. Nothing ever showed up, but I started noticing patterns. The whispers never happened when I had guests. They never happened when music was playing. They only happened when I was alone and still. And they always stopped the moment I acknowledged them. One night, I made a mistake. I answered. It was around 2 a.m. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, when I heard it again, closer than ever. Jane. My heart was pounding so hard, I could feel it in my throat. I sat up, sweating, and whispered back, without even thinking. Yes? The silence that followed was heavy, thick, like the house was holding its breath. Then the whisper came again, right beside my bed. You finally heard me. I screamed. I grabbed my phone, ran out of the house barefoot, and didn't stop until I reached the main road. I stayed there shaking until sunrise, watching cars pass, feeling like a lunatic. I didn't go back inside until morning. I packed a bag that day. I told myself I'd stay at a friend's place for a few nights, but something stopped me, a horrible, sinking feeling that if I left without understanding what was happening, it wouldn't let me go. That night, I returned. I told myself I would confront it logically. I kept all the lights on. I recorded audio again. I even spoke out loud, telling myself I was in control. That's when the whispers changed. They weren't just saying my name anymore. They started saying things only I knew. After that night, I stopped pretending I was in control. The house had made that very clear. Things began changing in small ways, subtle enough that if I hadn't been paying attention, I might have missed them. Doors I always kept closed were slightly open when I came home. Lights I remembered turning off were glowing dimly in empty rooms. The air inside the house felt heavier after midnight, like breathing through fabric. And the whispers, they were no longer just whispers. They had tone now. Emotion. It started finishing my thoughts. I'd sit at the kitchen table, staring into nothing, thinking about my mother, about how we hadn't spoken in years, and before the sadness could fully settle in, I'd hear it. You miss her. Not accusing, not mocking, just stating a fact. I slammed my hand on the table. Stop, I said out loud. The lights flickered. Then, softly, you asked me to listen. That sentence haunted me more than anything else it ever said. Because it was true. I tried bringing someone over again. My friend Leah agreed to stay the night after I finally broke down and told her some of what was happening, leaving out the parts that would make me sound insane. She laughed it off at first, said old houses made noise, said stress could do crazy things to your head. She stopped laughing around 112 a.m. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, talking quietly, when she suddenly went silent mid-sentence. Did you hear that? She asked. My blood turned to ice. Hear what? I asked carefully. She frowned, listening. Someone just whispered. I couldn't tell what they said. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The look on my face said enough. Leah grabbed her bag and left 10 minutes later. She wouldn't even let me walk her to her car. She never came back. After that, the whispers became possessive. They didn't like interruptions. They didn't like when I talked about leaving. When I searched for apartments online late one night, the internet went out. When I packed a suitcase, the bedroom door slammed shut, so hard it cracked the frame. And then it said something that finally broke me. I was lying in bed, shaking, staring at the ceiling, when it whispered, "You don't belong anywhere else anymore." I screamed until my throat burned. I started researching the house. Public records, old listings, anything. That's when I found out the truth. The house had never kept tenants long. People moved in, stayed a few months, then left suddenly. No forwarding addresses, no complaints, just silence. One woman, though, she stayed longer, almost 4 years. Her name was Evelyn Hart. She died in the house. Cause of death, undetermined. But there was a note, a final statement recorded by a social worker who'd visited the home weeks before Evelyn died. She claims the house talks to her. She believes it knows her memories and doesn't want her to leave. I dropped my phone because Evelyn's words weren't claims. They were warnings. That night, the whispers didn't wait for midnight. They started as soon as the sun went down. They came from every room, overlapping, murmuring, repeating fragments of my life back to me, things I'd forgotten, things I wished I could forget. I covered my ears. It didn't help. Finally, I screamed, "What do you want from me?" The house went completely silent. Then, for the first time, it spoke clearly. "Stay." I shook my head violently. "No." The lights shattered. Every bulb burst at once, plunging the house into darkness. Then it whispered right against my ear. "Everyone leaves. I don't." I ran. I didn't grab anything. I didn't lock the door. I just ran until my lungs burned and my legs gave out. I never went back. I live somewhere else now. I won't tell you where. I won't describe the place. Because it doesn't matter. The whispers didn't stay behind. They're quieter now. Fainter. But they're still there. Sometimes late at night, when everything is still, I hear it. Not angry. Not loud. Just patient. I remember you. And I know deep down that one day, when I'm tired enough, when I'm lonely enough, it will speak again. And next time, I might listen.